The New Tech Times, a video magazine for the electronic age. In this edition, computers counsel couples, creating a new twist in therapy. Also, Micros debut on Broadway in Cats and Sunday in the Park with George. Later in Napa Valley, chips turn grapes to wine, and Chicago's Second City irreverently looks at living in the computer age. All this and more in this edition of the New Tech Times.
The New Tech Times is brought to you through a grant from Wausau Insurance Companies. Times change, Wausau works, and by the collective voice of the consumer electronics industry. CEG, the Consumer Electronics Group, Electronic Industries Association.
Hello, I'm Mort Krim. Welcome to this edition of the New Tech Times. This week we'll explore the computer from a number of perspectives, through the eyes of winemakers in Napa Valley, in the satire of Chicago's Second City comedy troupe, and by way of the Broadway stage. We'll also explore some interesting gadgetry we found at the Summer Consumer Electronics Show. We begin this week's trip through the New Tech Times with a look at the computer as therapist. People in Minneapolis-St. Paul aren't exactly lying down on the computer sofa just yet, but they are getting a chance to try counseling microchip style. Here's a report produced by Brent Johnson.
What do you get when you cross a computer connected to a videotape machine and any two people who want to improve their relationship? Maggie, Minnesota Automated Guided Interaction Enhancement. Maggie is the brainchild of Jim Ayers. Jim was a psychologist in the University of Minnesota School of Public Health. He used Maggie as a research tool in his study of human interaction, something we know very little about. Now Jim is taking Maggie out into the community to see how she can help other people work on their relationships.
Sometimes that is kind of scary for me because I see you growing up pretty fast. But I think it's healthy as long as we can talk about it.
The beauty of the technology in terms of learning and usefulness is that it's automated. So that means you don't have to have a human facilitator in the room. And when you eliminate that third person and replace it with a computer machine and give people control over that, they get a lot more comfortable because it means they can turn the button off. They can stop it if they don't like it.
You ready? Yep.
Here's how Maggie computer counseling works. Instructions appear on the screen. Questions are asked about how you would characterize yourself and your relationship to your partner. You have a conversation which is recorded on videotape.
I guess I get concerned when I think that sometimes you'd rather play with the machines rather than, be with friends or talk with people.
Well, it goes half and half. Sometimes I might want to play a video game more.
I know that we can talk about it.
Your conversation is played back to you. At the same time, each of you is asked individualized questions about how you were feeling at that particular time. Then the computer tabulates the results and puts up graphic information comparing how anxious, attentive, nervous, or fatigued each of you felt. The computer can then take you back to any point in the tape so you can explore why it is that you were feeling the way you were.
Up until now, when somebody wanted to improve their relationship, they would go to a class or they would observe an expert doing it. They'd observe other people, and then they go ahead and try to do it, assuming that they were doing the right thing. And if something didn't work, they'd give up on it. What Maggie allows is for people to apply their learning in regards to relationship enhancement and to observe that learning and do it collaboratively.
I guess that's part of the conflict now, that coming home, when we both come home and we're both tired and we both want to read the mail, and no one wants to make dinner.
Most people who use Maggie have no computer experience, so it was critical that Maggie be user-friendly.
Probably the hardest part about using the system is having to type in your name. The idea is to get the computer to the point where it's a tool and not a technological instrument that you don't understand.
Stuart and Jim are not advocating doing away with counselors or friends to help bring people closer together, but they do believe that there is a place for machines like Maggie to help facilitate human interaction.
I've made a claim that people are more honest with machines than with people. A machine doesn't get impatient. It doesn't get embarrassed. It's reliable. If it's not working, at least you know it. It might not work when you want it to, but at least you know it doesn't work. And most importantly, you can turn a machine off. And all of those things we can't predict about people.
Jim is also the first person to acknowledge that his machine has its limits. It's still up to you to act on what you learn about yourself from Maggie.
A machine can't love. A machine can't experience courage. A machine can't reach out to another human being. And it's precisely those things that we're aiming at facilitating with this technology.
Jim and Stuart claim they have only scratched the surface of Maggie's applications. They plan to package and sell Maggie systems to businesses, hospitals, and law schools. And ultimately, Jim hopes Maggie and future machines like her will help us gain a better understanding of our most common, yet one of the least understood, human experiences, face-to-face interaction.
If Jim Ayers and his colleagues are right, the computer may help us overcome problems in personal relationships through Maggie-type counseling. These microchip therapists are springing up all over. To find out more about computer therapy, get in touch with the Mental Health Association in your community. Well, a visit to Broadway might be therapeutic for those of us who want to escape to the world of fantasy. The computer hasn't made it to the center stage yet, but it is getting a workout behind the scenes, as we see in this report produced by Anna Ray Jones.
Turn up, light the lights. You got nothing to hit but the heights. You'll be swell.
There's a bright new star on Broadway, not the kind in red shoes and spangled tights. This is one performer the audience never sees, the backstage computer. Computers have come to Broadway not only to transform the art of lighting, but also to create many special effects that are fast becoming part of the set designer's repertoire, such as the flying scenery and paintings that come to life in the latest Stephen Sondheim musical, Sunday in the Park with George.
Composition. Balance. Light and harmony.
Much of the magic behind this computerized scenery starts life in the set building shop of Pete Fella Associates in New York.
On Sunday in the Park with George, it was not a matter of space in the theater. Our problems mainly had to do with the coordination of the moving scenery.
More boats, more trees.
There were so many things moving at once, the traveling trees and the wagons moving on and the pop-ups coming in, that the only way to do it repeatably night after night was to put everything on computers.
For Broadway producer and president of the Schubert Organization, Bernard Jacobs, the computers and special effects are here to stay.
As automation and as technology develops, that the theater is going to keep pace with that development. I mean, what you're seeing now is you're seeing the theater to some extent copy and to some extent enhance the things that have been done in motion pictures such as Star Trek and Close Encounters of the Third Kind and things of that sort.
And we all say,
we are much more efficient about it, the effects are much more dramatic, and lighting has really become an art form, which it was not, say, 30 or 35 years ago. Usually the lighting designer was also the scenic designer. Lighting was just something that was used in order to light up the stage rather than to create magic on the stage. You're going to see more and more special effects. Some people will say that that's because you're compensating for the fact that the creative people can't write as well as they used to. I don't believe that to be true at all. I think that we have the means to do things we never were able to do before.
Cats, another major Broadway hit, has all its lighting effects governed by the Kliegel computerized light boards. The effects for the show's 2 acts are programmed by taped cassettes that contain digital signals and pre-coded commands for every scene. Large mobile pieces of the set are activated by advanced hydraulic systems and given some manual assistance by stage mechanic John Schwanke.
When you see the tire effect at the end of Cats, you'll see this tire going up in the air, and hopefully you're not going to see any of the things that make it work, because that's all magic. And in a lot of cases, people come to see the spectacle. They come to see the lights, they come to see the costumes, the scenery, and they try to top each other. And each designer tries to do something different and unto himself. It's a craft, it's an art. All the people are specialists that work in this end of the business, and everything is fabricated from scratch. It's new, it's hopefully never been done before, and they have got something that they've created that is unusual and that will bring in people to sell tickets.
This spectacular finale of Cats is only the beginning of what computers can do for Broadway theater. It's predicted that before long, computers will control sound effects, move all scenery, and project deceptively 3-dimensional images onto the stage. Computers, take a bow.
If you have story ideas, suggestions, or comments about the New Tech Times, get in touch with us electronically through The Source. Log on with Public 125 Direct. On CompuServe, use Go NTT. Or contact us directly through the New Tech Times electronic bulletin board by dialing 608-263-2784.
After that dazzling example of computer wizardry, it's hard to imagine where the folks on Broadway will go next. The microchip certainly has made an impact in Manhattan's theater district. It's also making an impact in the Napa Valley of California, just a short distance from Silicon Valley, where winemakers and wine experts are taking advantage of the chip to make better wine. Here's Tom Tomaszewski's report.
For those who enjoy and understand their language, wines write histories, volumes about winemakers and methods, grape-growing regions, and climates. Wine lovers comb this vineyard of variables in their search for the right blend. Gail Keller and Alex Durkheising consult their own computer connoisseur, a silicon sipper of sorts, for this information.
Before the computer, there's just so much that you can handle. 3 years ago, there were maybe 200 wineries in California producing Cabernet, or maybe 5 years ago. And now there's well over 500, and of those 500, most of them usually make at least 2 different Cabernets. Or a winery like Phelps will make 5 different Cabernets, times 500, 2,500 times 1 year, times 5 vintages, thousands of wines.
So this will be sort of the master list that has all the ID numbers, location numbers, etc.
They call this information concoction of wines on chips, online wine. It's a bulletin board service centered in the heart of the Napa Valley. This service is part of their wine bar business in Calistoga, California. The computer offers access to their expertise for a wider audience of wine lovers.
I don't know how we managed to do this before. I honestly don't. It's so much easier now, and it's still a lot of work.
tens of thousands of gallons of wine are produced through an inexact organic fermentation process, laced with the almost uncontrollable variables of time, temperature, and sugar content.
If you go a little bit too dry on one tank, you stop from another tank a little bit sweeter, and you blend them out so you have your proper sugar content. We like to make all the tanks the exact sugar content.
There are probes in 77 new wine tanks monitoring the sugar and temperature levels, critical to keeping tabs on the wine's fermentation. Yeast turns the sugar juice into alcohol, producing heat. A fiber optic system links the probes with this Hewlett-Packard 1000.
The reason we monitor it so carefully and record it so carefully is that many of the flavors developed in wines, especially in the whites, because they're very light and fruity, are really a function of the temperature.
And those graphs and charts do what?
What they do is they indicate to assistant winemakers, to myself and my father and other lab techs, the progress of it.
This speeds up the information that you need, and of course that's just information, and then you have to make your decision, which is done organoleptically as far as the quality of the wine.
Organoleptic is the unromantic word for the romantic component in winemaking, the part dependent on the senses, especially those senses of taste and smell.
It's really full.
Still a bit tannic.
Definitely a lot of tannin in the wine. It should hold up real nicely, though. It's good, healthy, young wine.
Each bottle, says master winemaker Pete Mondavie Sr., carries a bit of that winemaker's character inside.
It's still it's a palate, and it's what you like and what you think makes good balanced wine.
It's so complex that, you know, they need all that help. It's still an art, you know, but it's more than just the little old winemaker there trying to make wine.
Wines can write a new chapter in that special language they speak to wine lovers. Histories of winemakers and methods, grape-growing regions and climates, and now, computers, refining the inexact science mixing wine with chips.
Winemaking is an art form that spans the centuries. Even though the microcomputer is lending a hand, it's still nice to know that a longtime winemaker such as Pete Mondavie Sr. is passing his knowledge along. We continue our travels this week with a stop in Chicago, where we found some interesting new mini electronic gadgets at the Consumer Electronics Show. They weren't headlining at the summer exhibition, but were tucked away in the recesses of the CES showplace.
Vibrato, vibrato, vibrato. Everyone's a winner, bargains galore. That's right, you too can be the proud.
Coming back for another Consumer Electronics Show can mean success in this business. For OWI of Japan, a second appearance at CES brought the showing of an expanded line of Move-It robot toys. These popular do-it-yourself electronic kits turn into real-life automatons. Fashionably from Taiwan, and now available at a stereo store near you, comes a redesigned boombox that you wear.
This product name is Sound Jacket. It's a stereo. 2 speakers here. My brand name is Mini Sing. My company name is Retong. It's made in Taiwan.
Wear this AM radio from Sportsbug in your ear. But this gadget is worn behind your ear.
The sleeper beeper is a safety warning device. It makes the driver alert. You turn it on right here. Weighs less than an ounce and it fits very comfortably behind your ear. You're driving down the road and you begin to fall asleep. Your head tilts forward and it beeps and wakes you up.
Don't settle for less. How do we do it? How do we do it? Volume, volume, turn up the volume.
Dial.
Here's the first telephone you actually talk back to.
Weather. Dial.
The command dialer is a voice recognition telephone.
If you watch Star Trek, and when Mr. Spock said computer, and the computer says yes, and he went on and gave it commands. This is what ultimately will come about. We're at the beginning of it now with something like this.
If Dr. McCoy put Spock on a diet, he'd probably prescribe something like this personal activity computer.
It has a small device called an accelerometer built into it that actually measures the activity you have relative to the body, I mean relative to the Earth.
Step right up, step right up, step right up. Everyone's a winner, bargains galore. That's right, you too can be the proud owner of the quality goes in before that name goes on.
The products you've just seen may never make it to the main aisles at the CES or even to the top 10 product list. But they do offer a look at the diverse number of products to be found at the twice-yearly Consumer Electronics Bonanza. Another bonanza tucked away in Chicago is the Second City Comedy Troupe. It's become famous for satire since the early 70s. Carol Larson paid a visit to the folks at Second City during the Consumer Electronics Show. She watched as they premiered Up Your Computer. Here's her report.
My problem's basic. It started with my son. See, I bought him the Adam add-on computer.
Oh, you found one that worked.
Yeah, then he moved up to the ColecoVision, you know.
Oh, yeah.
He's up there in his room, just completely remote from me. He's joined a hackers club. He broke into Continental Bank.
Oh, Jesus.
What a mistake.
It's a bite, man.
A meeting of Computerholics Anonymous, a pretty effective bit of social satire. Because, of course, satire is only effective when it contains more than a bite of truth.
Fit in with the other kids, you know.
Yeah, my son, he's like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I used to go down to the video game arcade just to feel like one of the gang, you know. I didn't even like the games, but
No one does. They weren't very good then.
there was this one day I tried one of them, and all of a sudden I got this surge of power, you know.
It gets that way when you're conquering the universe.
Yes, just to have my hand on that joystick.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and then all the boys started asking me out.
Sure,
But then I got off that crazy merry-go-round, and it's been 194 days for me.
Think Computerholics is a pretty absurd idea? Well, good satire starts with a realistic idea and then expands on that to a point of what appears to be absurd. And with the way we've been obsessed with technology nowadays, that is a pretty short trip. You see, we've never been able to look at machines as the cold, lifeless tools they're supposed to be. We give cute names to our cars, to airplanes, and to boats. We assign to them human characteristics like stubborn, lazy, or friendly. We are not too far from the point of believing that Lisa, Macintosh, and Adam may have lives and love affairs of their own.
Underneath all that hardware, I'll bet you there's some compatible software. You know how I can tell? You have such a nice monitor. Did you know that?
Garbage in, garbage out.
Come on, I mean it.
Don't bug me.
Hey, am I getting to you?
I don't copy.
If I find the right code, will you talk to me?
Look, I'm not the kind of computer that outputs if that's what you compute.
Look, I just want to exchange a little data with you, that's all.
I don't exchange data with an overgrown pocket calculator.
Well, you glitch.
Well, I thought our nested loot was something sacred, till I caught her sharing downtime to my face with a salesman.
A two-timing terminal. It wouldn't be far from absurd to someday hear our misplaced affections for the computer turn up in a mournful country ballad.
Oh, where is my computer? Respond to my ID. I was first in, first out till my sweetie said goodbye to me. Can't pull myself up by my bootstraps. No one to feed and load. So don't bite the hand that feeds you as you log on down the road. Yes.
Pretty heart-rendering stuff. But the benefit of satire, without getting too philosophical about all of this, the benefit has always been to keep us from taking ourselves too seriously. And we do tend to be very serious and obsessive and emotional about technology. One might almost think we were to the point of making it our religion.
Open access, system saver, word perfect, pacemaker, the most amazing thing. Bay Street speller, Popeye Frogger, Simon's Basic, Smart Modem, WordStar, and Word Attack.
Second City's Up Your Computer, by the way, was a special performance for the folks at CES, presented by Family Computing Magazine. From microchip therapy and high-tech special effects to silicon winemaking and Second City satire, this week's reports continue to show the many ways technology affects us. We continue our journey together through that ever-changing world next week with a look at these subjects.
In the next edition of the New Tech Times, disc jockeys go live via satellite and AM radio plays the hits in stereo. Also, Peter Brandt, broker and fisherman, trades commodities from the North Woods and explore the world in your mind with 3D computer animation. This and more in the next edition of the New Tech Times.
For the New Tech Times staff, I'm Mort Krim. Thanks for watching.
The New Tech Times has been brought to you through a grant from Wausau Insurance Companies. Times change. Wausau works. And by the collective voice of the consumer electronics industry, the CEG, the Consumer Electronics Group, Electronic Industries Association.
To communicate electronically with the New Tech Times on CompuServe, use Go NTT. Through the source, log on with Public 125 Direct, or contact us directly through the New Tech Times electronic bulletin board by dialing 608-263-2784. For a transcript of this program, send $3 to the New Tech Times, Program 204, 821 University Avenue, Madison, Wisconsin, 53706.